The illegal invasion of our country continues. The Tucson sector is so overwhelmed that the agents can't even do training anymore. They just have to help process people into the country, foreign nationals. Also, I see a report here from Fox's Bill Maluzhin that Tucson, Arizona sector saw just yesterday alone over 2,800 illegal crossings. 2,800 in one sector of Arizona on one day. Thousands upon thousands of people who, of course, are now going to be on the public dole. So it's going to cost you even more money. For more on all of this and what she's seeing in all of her excellent reporting from the border, we're joined now by Allie Bradley. She's a correspondent for News Nation and joins us now. Allie, good to have you with us. Thank you.
Hey, Vince. Thanks for having me.
Allie, are you in Tucson today?
I'm actually in Lukeville. Tucson is a little north of us. This is the Tucson sector, so it covers a big area. Lukeville is where we're seeing the thousands of people cross every day, overnight in this area alone where I'm standing, and you can look at some of my Twitter. I've posted some videos. They saw over 900 people in a single group. Some of the individuals I've been talking to, they've been sitting out here for days because the people down here right now, Vince, are not in federal custody yet. Because as soon as the agents kind of receive them, so to speak, take them into custody, the clock starts ticking. There's a lot of issues down here in the Tucson sector that other areas are not dealing with, and the cartel knows it. One of those issues is back in 2020, a judge actually granted an injunction that basically requires Border Patrol to expedite the processing, get them out of custody as quickly as possible. The Tucson sector customarily has the lowest holding times because the injunction follows accusations surrounding inhumane conditions when these people are in federal custody. So if one thing goes wrong, this injunction could be broken wide open and it could apply to the entire southern border if a judge wants it to. So these individuals down here cannot even be received yet because the Border Patrol agents cannot process them quickly enough. That is one of the things they're dealing with. They can't get buses out here. They got vans out here that are transporting people by 10 to 12 people at a time. But we have 700 people that are still sitting out here. They're from Ecuador, Guinea, Senegal, Mauritania. Most of them are traveling alone. They kind of make groups over in Mexico. I've asked them, how did you guys get together? And they basically admit that the cartel and the coyotes over there lump them together. They all kind of get in groups of, people from similar countries and, they all kind of support each other on their journey and here they are. So some of them tell us they saw the opportunity to come, so they came. And that is the reality down here that they're dealing with. But you mentioned that these agents aren't able to do their training. Firearms training is on hold. Canine training is on hold. Their physical fitness that they do every single day, they cannot do that right now, which I know, wow, Border Patrol can't go to the gym. But, I'll tell you this. The agents I talked to, they say that was the one piece of sanity that we did have. The one thing that kind of allowed us to decompress after everything we're dealing with. So they don't have that anyways. And we know that morale is the lowest it has been ever. And so those are just some of the things that they're up against. And I'm walking through these groups of people and they're like, how much longer are we going to be sitting here? And I said, I don't know. You could be sitting here for a couple more days.
I'm sorry, but when I hear that, and I feel like we've been doing this for years now, and you've been doing such great coverage of this, but the idea that people illegally enter the country and then get upset that they're not being processed in more quickly, the degree of entitlement that I hear in that assessment, it drives me crazy. Am I alone in this, Allie?
I don't think you are. There are individuals right now that are trying to get in front of the line. They're trying to get out of this kind of mess faster. They're actually going over to the water coolers to try to cut the line, and Border Patrol is literally like, you have to go back to the back of the line.
Oh my gosh!
Because what you're doing right now is going to cause problems. These people they want to get processed, right? And the reality too, and I hate to put this out there, but they can walk away, Vince. They don't have to stay here, and nobody's going to go after them. We're watching people walk off to go to the restroom and go wherever else, and I go, well, where are they going? And they're like, we don't know. They're not in our custody. They're not legally, we don't have custody of them right now. They can actually walk away and just become gotaways, which we know that's this whole other thing. And a lot of different things are happening down here in the Tucson sector. We have checkpoints closed. We obviously have the port down here that is seeing a reduction. But the I-19 checkpoint is closed going out of Nogales, where 45 million fentanyl pills were seized, last year coming out of Nogales. We have The checkpoint here on 85 is closed because CBP is doing an all-hands-on-deck posture.
I'm sorry. When you say the checkpoint,
just
let me. I'm sorry, Allie. I just want to make sure people understand, and make sure I understand for that matter. When you say checkpoint, you mean inside of our country. There are various checkpoints to try and vet whether or not there are illegal immigrants being trafficked in. Border Patrol can't even man the inside the country checkpoints anymore.
That is correct. Those both are closed. The main checkpoints coming out of both of these areas that are seeing the influx down here are both unoperational right now. They're inoperable. And again, that's kind of the last line of defense before they get up to, Pima and Pinal County and things like that, where now, those law enforcement individuals are tasked with stopping the load vehicles and things like that. We don't have interior enforcement right now at the southern border because all of those individuals have been pulled. I just drove by the 85 checkpoint. I posted it to my feed. It's closed. So that's the reality down here. And you have a guy over the weekend from the Dominican Republic who went out and stuck boulders and rocks in the middle of the road to stop traffic, and what was his intent? Was it just to get help because there's no cell phone service down here? Or was it to distract agents, causing a car crash, which is what it did? So there's a lot happening down here that a lot of people aren't paying attention to.
No.
But you brought up the number of 2,800 in a single day. Well, in 1 week, it was 15,600. That's a new all-time record. It was almost 15,700. And that is astronomical. When I first started covering this, when the floodgates were open, we were sitting here screaming about 10,000 in a week. And now we're nearing, 16,000. And so that's the reality. And that's why they're taking an all-hands-on-deck posture here, is because they have no choice. It's so remote. They're literally butted up against a truck stop here in Mexico. They're rolling right up on buses, man. They're not even walking. I'm like, how'd you get here? And they're like, we took a plane right to Mexico City, took a bus right from there to here, and right to that truck stop, the Trucadero, right on the other side of the wall here. They're getting out of buses and walking across the street and walking into the country.
Allie, I know our audience knows this. I know people who watch you on News Nation know this, but I do feel like this point is not resonant enough in the American public. The places that these illegal foreign nationals are coming from are not simply South and Central America, as it used to be. You described earlier in this conversation Senegal, Guinea, Liberia, Mauritania. These are African countries. We have an entire ocean that separates this hemisphere, and you've got people coming over and illegally entering the United States through the Mexican border. They're not even flying into the United States. They're flying into, you said, Mexico City, and their cartels are smuggling them. Go ahead.
They're flying into Nicaragua, a lot of them. And then from there, they fly in another, like that. So that's how they're getting from Africa. They're getting into Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a direct flight. There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through. And, it's smuggling operations. You ask them, did you deal with the cartel? And they're like, yeah. Every state we crossed through in Mexico, we had to pay the cartel. We had to pay somebody to get here. And so they're flying straight into, Nicaragua. Then from there, they're flying into another country. And they, explained it all to me. I'll be sharing that soon. And then they end up walking across the highway here right into the open doors. The cartel is literally cutting the bollards on this wall and removing them. So the floodgates are closed now, but there are wide open gaps in this wall.
Sorry, the cartels are cutting through our wall.
They're cutting through the U.S. wall, the wall that is built in Lukeville. They are cutting the bollards and removing them, so there are holes in the wall, and that has been happening. I've even reported on a cut bollard when I was down here during the floodgate debacle.
Yeah,
it's very easy for them to take to come through, cut through them, and what's weird is the bollards move. I posted about that. So it seems hard to get through it, but it's real easy. And they've got it down, man. They've got it down to a science, and we're always in a reactionary posture over here. But right now, Texas is pretty much, fortified to that degree. I mean, we're seeing Eagle Pass get kind of hammered out there too. But at the end of the day, people are going to take the path of least resistance, right? And when you have Border Patrol so tied up and everybody, it's all hands on deck out here. I mean, the cartel is sitting there. They've always used these areas as their playground to push nefarious things through here. John Maudlin, the chief, testified back in February that 50% of their foot traffic comes through the Tohono O'odham Reservation. He said it's not the good kind. Vince, do you think that traffic stopped now that there's 900 people sitting here that self-surrendered?
Not a chance.
And Border Patrol's busy?
So something I remember from years back, that the Border Patrol's always had to deal with people cutting through wall and fence. But the way they would deal with it is they would respond to it. So after it was cut through, they try and catch people and then eject them from our country. And then they would repair the broken portion of the wall. They would stitch it up. They would make it work again. My guess is that they're now so consumed they can't even attend to all of this wall being cut through.
Well, I'm going to go look for myself and see if that area of the wall has been repaired. But they have repaired some other sections before, and I have been witness to that. But I don't know if they have the manpower. I've not seen the border wall crew out here yet today. So I'll go check it out and see, and I'll report back.
Allie, really at the core of my question is, with the Border Patrol stretched thin as it is, and morale, I think you indicated earlier, as low as it is, what does it mean for retention for that service? Are people quitting the job in light of the fact that they're not actually holding the border?
We already know that Border Patrol has been struggling. We've been reporting that they doubled the hiring incentive. They've cut back on a lot of things. The guys can have beards now. They can have tattoos. They can, use certain recreational drugs. The standard for Border Patrol has been egregiously reworked.
Yes.
Because they can't get people to do the job. And this is what all agents tell me, and people I talk to. It's a generational job for a lot of them. Their uncle did it, their dad did it, somebody in their family did it. And right now, the families aren't telling their kids and their nephews and their nieces to do this. So they don't have a good recruitment rate. Their retention rate is also tough. These guys, a lot of them are up for retirement soon, and that's what they're waiting for because, their pension, they've worked a long time to get that. And so that's why they're still, so-called toeing the line when people are frustrated that they just don't quit. They have a lot on the line. So at the end of the day, they're not getting new recruits in like they want to. I know that their recruitment classes are struggling, and they don't have nearly as many as they used to. And so there's a lot that's going to be happening in the coming years, and whoever wins this election is going to have their hands full in trying to fill a lot of spaces.
I can't help but notice that sounds a lot like what's happening in the military, too. Fewer and fewer legacy applications as people recommended their children maybe try a different career, which is wild. Lastly, Allie Bradley, and thank you for your time as always. You said you've been talking to many of these people who've been coming into the country illegally. Do they indicate to you, I know that we heard some of this early in the Biden administration, do they indicate to you how important it is that Biden is president in order for them to make the decision to make the journey?
I didn't ask them that. I asked them why they came now. And again, what I heard from a woman from Ecuador, who is a content creator who wants to create content here and teach America about her country. She said they saw the opportunity and they took it. So if you can kind of assimilate that to whatever, but I didn't straight up ask them, is it because President Biden is in place? Now, when I was with the caravan, I did hear that. But that wasn't a question I asked today, Vince.
Got it. All right. Well, Allie Bradley over at News Nation, one of the few reporters who's been doggedly covering our border crisis. Allie, thank you as always for your time. Really appreciate that.